Welcome back to my podcast, Stephen Sulley Study. Got a wicked guest in front of me, another pro boxer. To be honest, my bloody podcast is turning into interviewing boxers, which isn't a bad thing. It's a really, really good thing. I've got obviously a big passion for boxing. And I've said this so many times on my podcast. I'm in business for myself. Yeah. Without boxing, without my small background in amateur boxing and that mindset, I don't think I would have ever got into business. Yeah. I think, listen, school serves a purpose, but A-levels, GCSEs, etc. doesn't mean you're going to be in business for yourself or even become a success. But for me, boxing definitely gives you some of the ingredients to go out there and fight for what you want to achieve. Yeah, definitely. So interviewing people like you is always, a joy for me to go through that process. So Elliot Whale, welcome onto the podcast, mate.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the first for you. This is your first ever podcast.
Yeah, I've done a few interviews and that, but I've never done a podcast. So hopefully it's the first of many.
Yeah, mate, definitely. So I know this podcast is going to come out in a few weeks' time. So by this time, you would have raised your hand yet again for your fifth fight. So you're 4-0 so far.
Yeah, right now I'm 4-0, fighting Friday to make it 5-0. So,
yeah. So you fight out of the iBox gym.
Yeah.
With Jordan Reynolds. There's obviously your trainer Al Smith. You've got Eddie Lamb there, who I know really well. Nice. Good
gym down there. We've got probably the best gym, I think, for up and coming talent. Do you know what I mean?
So this is a question I've not really asked many pro boxers, but it's just sort of hit me. There's loads of pro boxing clubs and great trainers out there, and some of them have got for example, I box down Boxing Booth. Yeah. I don't train directly with Adam Booth, but I train with Charlie Beat, who's a good friend of mine, who took Shannon Courtney to world title, looks after Harlem Eubank, and obviously has a hand with Mick Condon, Josh Kelly, etc. And I've also trained with Al Smith, and he's a fantastic trainer. He's actually really well renowned for Rapini hands. He's got a very good name for that. But there's loads of different styles, and when you go down these gyms, you can almost tell where they actually fight or which gym they're down because of their style, whether they come forward, whether they counter, whether they quick sort of twitching their heads and stuff like that. How did you make your decision to start fighting down iBox, for example?
Well, I was obviously an amateur at Nemesis, and then Jake and Lewis was also Nemesis. They was down at iBox. Then, to be fair, when I was first turning pro, it was like I knew everyone there, sort of thing. It was like, obviously Johnny Lewis, Brad, they was
Johnny Garton.
Yeah, Johnny Garton. So I knew them all there, and I thought if I go from Nemesis to there, it's just like joining Nemesis again. I wanted to have a change. So I was having a look around at other gyms and that, and it weren't really going nowhere, to be fair. So I had a couple more fights for England. I actually boxed twice for England, and then I decided what happened. I think a couple of the boys retired and stuff like that, and then I see Sam Noakes went down there, Dennis was there, I think Henry Turner might have been there. Do you know what I mean? It was all like a new lease of life down there, a young up and coming fighter. So I thought, do you know what, I'm going to speak to Al, because obviously I knew him through Tony, and he was happy to have me. I had a little trial down there and he was happy. So.
Whatever happened to Dennis? I remember seeing him and then he suddenly just sort of...
Dennis...
Did you say Dennis? It was
McCann, yeah, he's still there now.
So not Dennis, there was another one. Sorry, I'm thinking of a guy called Brett Beeden. Oh, sorry,
he was there as well before them.
Whatever happened to him?
Do you know what? I think he had some personal issues and stuff like that. I'm not too sure.
He was a really good fighter.
He was a good boxer. He fought for Repton, I think, and he was good, but... I'm not sure. I don't think he was. I think he's give up now, to be fair. Yeah. I think he's out of the gym and he's give up. But.
Yeah, I sparred him once or twice and he was much lighter than me, and obviously I'm not pro. But yeah, I remember sparring him. I was thinking, bloody hell, this guy's like the Matrix.
Couldn't hit him. I remember he was a good boxer, but for whatever reasons, I think he just retired.
So, a bit of a blunt, direct question. Elliot, why do you... I was going to say get punched in the face for a living, but that's not even right, because you don't get punched in the face for a living. So why would you go into a career? And I know the answer to this, I think, but I'm just for the viewers. Yeah. Why would you become a boxer when it's so fucking tough? I mean, to make a good living and then to become very, very successful, like the Mayweathers or like, let's say, the Conor McGregors from the UFC, who go on to make hundreds of millions of dollars. That's obviously the pot at the end of the rainbow, but many people don't get there. So why did you choose to take this path?
Well, I started at 8 years old, do you know what I mean? I went down there to get fit for football. Then I sort of just loved it, do you know what I mean? Then I thought from about 10, I was like, this is what I want to do, just out of love for the sport sort of thing. Then obviously I started getting better and better. And then Yeah, just saying I want to do. Obviously, if I have kids now, I think I'd advise them to do something different because, like you say, not everyone earns the great money like them. But there's money to be earned from boxing, and if you're good enough, you can earn the money. Then obviously invest it wisely, and go from there. Do you know what I mean? You ain't only certain people probably gonna earn mils. You know what I mean? But if you earn you can nick like 100 grand or whatever sort of thing, can always invest that and hopefully never have to work properly after. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So part of the reason why I like interviewing boxers is, I want to talk about boxing and I want to talk about your career, but really and truly, one thing you've all got in common, whether I'm speaking to a Harlem Eubank or Mick Conlon or yourself, I've had Bryant Jennings on here from America. Yeah. I've had a few different boxers, and whether you're world champion or just starting your career, you've all shared the same thing, which is you're ambitious people. You're fighters, and what that means is you're fighter in the ring, outside the ring, and in your mindset. And that's what I love hearing, like the do or die mentality, because I think you can transfer that into other parts of your life.
Cool.
So your ambitions then, as a pro boxer, where do you want to get to? Where do you want to be over the next 5 years, 10 years from now?
I want to be a world champion, 100%. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Do you know what I mean? And I believe that I can become a world champion. I think I got injured, do you know what I mean? Then I had a little bit of a layoff. Then, I don't know, I sort of fell out of love with boxing. But then I went away for a week, come back, and I sort of got my focus back. And since I've been back, I've just got a complete different, I'm tunnel vision now, do you know what I mean? And I'm 100% positive I can get to become a world champion. And that's what I'm in it for, definitely be a world champion.
Why becoming a world champion, why is that important to you?
Because that's just like the ultimate goal, innit? You've been number one in the world. Like at my weight and that's just what I've dreamed of, do you know what I mean? And that's why I just want to become a world champion. Then obviously I'll do a welterweight at the minute, but touch wood, it all goes well, I can always move up and try to become a multi-weight world champion, do you know what I mean? And leave my name so everyone knows me, and you know what I mean, like in the history books sort of thing. That's what I want. Then leave a bit of a legacy. Yeah.
So becoming a world champion, I mean, having the belts, maybe becoming undisputed, and that's all well and good and great. But then obviously the byproduct of that is going to be the endorsements. It's going to be fame. It's going to be recognised. It's going to be an influence. It's going to be the money. What aspect of beyond the belts and becoming branded as world champion? What kind of triggers your excitement or your drive to get there?
I'm not really in it for the fame and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not really in it for them reasons. I'm just in it because ever since I was young, that's just what I've wanted to do. I've told myself I want to become a world champion. Do you know what I mean? And now, the older I'm getting closer towards my dreams. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting older and I'm living what I've wanted to do my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Like not many people can say they're living what they their dreams. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was in school, and I used to say to the teachers I don't need this. I'm gonna be a pro boxer. Do you know what I mean? And they probably used to look at me like, you Larry little prick. Do you know what I mean? Like now, obviously, I'm living my dream, and obviously, I've still got so much more to give and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you're 24 years of age.
Yeah.
Obviously, young, got the world at your feet. But as we've seen this year, life goes very, very quickly. And unfortunately, about 2 years ago, we had this poxy thing that kicked off, which was called coronavirus.
Yeah.
And I know me and you share quite a similar view on the matter, which we probably won't get into for now, because that'd be a whole different. That would be a whole different podcast. But anyway, I mean, what it's demonstrated is anything can happen in life, and big changes can come when you don't expect it. So, with that in mind, how tough has it been for a pro athlete, pro boxer, someone that wants to kick on to become British, European, world champion? How has that kind of disrupted your plans?
Do you know what? It's a weird one because coronavirus has been a bit of a blessing in disguise for boxing in general. Do you know what I mean? It's made people take more 50-50 fights. It's made boxing more interesting. There's not many people trying to build padded records now because you have to sort of take these fights because obviously there's not a lot of opportunity about. So for that reason, it's been a bit of a blessing. I've had 2 fights in the lockdown behind closed doors, and that's both unbeaten fighters. You know what I mean? And because I've beat them, I've had 4 fights and I'm ranked 19th in Britain already. And everyone else above me has had 16, 15 plus fights. You know what I mean? I've had 4 fights and I'm already ranked. So that's a good thing because of coronavirus. But then obviously, that's for boxing, it's been quite good, I think. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, some people bit unfortunate on ticket deals or whatever. They haven't fought for like 2 years. You know what I mean? So for them, it's a bit hard work, but. Yeah, I feel like it's done me a favour, to be fair.
I reference my dad all the time on this podcast because even though me and him are like really good mates, and obviously, you know, he's my father, but at the same time, we butt heads quite a lot about this conversation about Corona, everything else. And look, without trying to put him down, he very much reacts to the news.
Yeah.
So like the other day, this new variant come out and my dad was like, oh my God, have you seen we're going to be locked down and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, the response is whatever happens, and you've got to use it to your advantage. And even though I'm not perfect and I've, you know, lost my shit a little bit I over the years because, you know, I was a bit frustrated with stuff.
Yeah.
The facts are if you can't really change it, then you got to embrace it. And like you said, it's been a bit of a blessing because in lockdown, I think you was one or two people. You either allowed it to get to you, and these people unfortunately started to turn to junk food, got overweight, got lazy. Even worse than that, they started turning to drugs, started turning to drink. And then even beyond that, self-harm, abuse, and some of them even committed suicide, which is the real losers out of all this. The people that have done that, that is the most, you know, outrageous, horrible scenario ever because family have lost some really, really good people because of it. But then on the other side, it's actually made people become almost athletes in their self.
Yeah, because a lot of people are doing like home training now, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like people change their lifestyles because of it. Do you know what I mean? When they can't go out, some people probably, I don't know, started training and doing whatever else just for like now they're in the gym, now they're not probably boozing and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I was going to get to is like just cornering what I was saying there is, you know, things do happen for a reason, but how important is it in life as a boxer, as a fighter, to embrace whatever you're going through?
Yeah, you've got to, it's part of the journey. Do you know what I mean? It makes you stronger. Like, to be fair, the COVID weren't too bad for me, but it was my injury that was worse. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I've been out for ages. Then the same sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? You end up, I weren't training, and I was just like lost focus, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's all. Then obviously after I had that, I went away, then come back, like a week holiday, come back, and then change my focus, and I'm back. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm more focused than ever. I think you've got to sort of just embrace what happens, and it's part of the process, and it makes you who you are today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to always know about my guests, their background, their foundations, etc. What I love about boxing, what I love about even art, and it's a bit weird because both of them on the face of it look like they're from completely two different worlds, and they are. But one thing they share in common is the art market, boxers, or the boxing world, you can come from any walk of life and contribute towards it.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes in some industries and markets, you've got to be one type or a few type of people in order to be almost part of that kind of market in a roundabout way. And what I'm trying to get to is some boxers have had a bit of a textbook lifestyle, but then some of them have had a bit of a checkered lifestyle. In some ways, the stories that I do like hearing is sometimes the checkered ones because it's factored into their aggression in the ring and wanting to become the best. And I had Ashley Fearfane on my podcast recently. Used to fight underneath Floyd Mayweather's Mayweather Promotions, and he said to me that, you know, he went jail for 6 months and there was gangs and everything else. And Brian Jennings the same, had these kind of things. As a young kid, you know, was you ever tempted to go down them kind of routes, or did you have a bit more of a kind of cleaner path to boxing?
No, to be fair, where I'm from, Bexley, it's not really like, ain't a bad area. Do you know what I mean? There's not no like gangs and that, but obviously in every area there's shit and there's whatever else. But I'm glad where I come from. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy.
Sig Cup, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm from Bexley. I'm from Bexley, but like I don't really have there's no gangs in that really. To be fair, do you know what I mean? So I just sort of just went boxing to get fit for football. Then obviously I just do it out of the love. Do you know what I mean? I loved it and kept going. And I don't know. Yeah, I ain't really had like a very, very hard life. Do you know what I mean? My life's been alright. The worst thing that probably happened to me, my parents split up when I was about 21. Do you know what I mean? But that's life. Do you know? Like I've not really had nothing too bad go wrong.
I mean, look, my mum and dad split up when I can't remember, like 8 or 10 years of age, and it's certainly definitely it must have affected me at the time, and even when I was like a young teenager or just turning 20s, I would always probably say that it didn't affect me.
Yeah.
Now looking back, I don't think it affected me massively, but there's always a little bit plays on your mind a little bit. Would you say that had any influence over you or your sport or anything like that?
I just feel at the time I just felt let down. Do you know what I mean? Like I just felt like they've been together for years. You know what I mean? Then obviously it just sort of stopped, and I was a bit like, do you know what I mean? But I suppose it's life, this day and age, and nothing really lasts, does it? Do you know what I mean? Not many people last. Most people that I went to school with, their parents all split up, and that just like it is what it is. Just got to get on with it. Obviously, I was living with my mum and that, so yeah. But I was living with her. I'm not living there now. But
yeah. So so becoming a pro boxer, becoming any athlete, I know there's certain elements to becoming the best you can be, which are endurance, strength, power, conditioning. Obviously you've got your skills, there's loads of different elements to becoming a full package. You right now as a pro, coming up to your 5th fight, what would you say your strengths are as a pro boxer?
Do you know what, probably my size for the weight. I've not got like a great style to look at from the outside. Do you know what I mean? Like I look a bit awkward and a bit like, but when you're in there with me, it's completely different. Do you know what I mean? I'm quite powerful. I can pack a bit of a punch for like my people. Look at me and think, he's only like tall, he's skinny, but I can punch quite hard. I can box on the inside as well as on the outside. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I can do a bit of everything, to be honest. So yeah, I'm looking forward to keep learning in the gym and sort of just add little bits to my style. Yeah.
And then on the contrary to that, and I know it's going to be hard for any athlete, especially an alpha type of male type of guy, to admit certain weaknesses. But what would you say is your weakness as a pro boxer?
My weakness is probably not even in the ring. It's probably more of the social media side of things. You know what I mean? Like most boxers are on it on the Instagram, and do you know what I mean? They like ask me a question this, or they're on the story. I don't really do that, so I suppose that's probably my actual weakness for pro boxing. Do you know what I mean? I don't get my name out there enough. But,
self-promotion.
Self-promotion. But I'm hoping if I keep racking up the wins, then it sort of speaks for itself. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm already ranked quite high up in Britain. I've only had 4 fights, so I think the proof's in the pudding. It's there, but maybe need to improve the self-promotion.
Yeah. So I'm a good 11 years older than you. I'm actually turning 36 on the 13th of December, so about 12 almost. I knew life before social media was a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's how old I am, right? Yeah. I knew, life before Instagram.
Life was probably better, wasn't it?
Well, do you know what? It's a blessing and a curse, social media. I'll tell you why I say that. So the obvious things is, and thankfully I've never been pulled into this, but I'm a little bit fearful of my 2 sons who are 3 and one's a newborn.
Right.
And I know the challenges I'm going to have as a father, and the challenges they're going to have is they're going to be pulled into this world that it's going to be the normal, which is fine, but they may start comparing themselves to somebody else they don't even know on the other side of the world with this kind of almost fake life or a hyped up version of someone's life. Thankfully, I've seen life before social media and I've never really kind of bought into that, but I will admit I do get distracted. It's a hard one, right? Because my missus will turn around to me and goes, "You're always on that thing." But at the same time, and I'm making a fucking excuse here, but I kind of have to be on it because of my work. I've got collectors that I speak to via social media. Plus I run a podcast and I'm very ambitious. Yeah. Like you want to become a world champion, I want to become a world champion in the podcast space. So I look at the biggest podcasts in the world and I'll say, I'm going to beat them.
I want to be like,
I'm going to beat them one day. And whether that is kind of outrageous for me to think, I believe that. I think if I keep on pushing forward, exactly. So it's a curse in one sense because you can get pulled away from the moments where you should be a bit more engaged with your friends and family, and I will confess that. But at the same time, look, me and you are speaking because of the whole social media and also podcasts. If I just randomly come over to you in the street one day, I mean, you're a nice fella, you probably would give me a time of day, but it would almost be like, oh, who's this weirdo coming over to me? Do you know what I mean? And that's how I've connected with all these people across the world, is because of social media. So your take on it then, 24 years of age, you must have only really known life with Instagram and Twitter and
it
stuff.
used to be like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. But you know what? Yeah, before I turned pro, I got rid of my iPhone. I didn't even have an iPhone. I didn't even have social media. Do you know what I mean? Because I was getting too addicted to it. Do you know, like, not comparing, but I was just constantly on it, scrolling and stuff like that. So I got rid of it. Then when I turned pro, my manager said you have to get that phone away and you got to get back on the iPhone with the. Do you know what I mean? So it's got all the apps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So some days I still log out and try to delete the app off my phone. Do you know what I mean? Because I do see myself scrolling on it, just constantly on Instagram. I don't have Twitter or Facebook. I'm just on Instagram, and sometimes I get a bit like you say, get distracted. Do you know what I mean? Like you're constantly scrolling, looking at shit, really. But again, you do need it because it's part of promoting yourself and getting people to see what you're doing and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So you do need it, but I feel like once I'm done from boxing, I'll probably get rid of it and not have it because, like you say, I think there's a lot of wankers on there, to tell you the truth. Do you know what I mean? Like they put a fake life and they think they like. Do you know what I mean? That's not a bit of me. But
I mean, I won't call the person out, and he's a nice guy. But you know, he's positioned himself as this big entrepreneur, which is fine.
Yeah.
You've got to believe it in order to achieve it. So I respect that. But it's like, I don't know, driving a car that he doesn't own. He got it from a friend, and he's been put onto like a TV thing because of and it's all a bit. Yeah, like I in some senses I get it. You know, you're trying to become an entrepreneur and trying to become this profile, and you have to slightly fake it till you make it. Yeah. But at the same time, it's almost like, look, I know you, and I know this is all a bit artificial, and it's a bit of a mad paradox, really.
There's boxers like that, though. You know what I mean? They're fucking madness. You know what I mean? They don't fight, but they're on it. You know what I mean? Like they can do this and that, do that. Do you know what I mean? You've got to actually fight. Some of them don't even do that. Do you know what I mean? So and I think people, you can post whatever you like on there, and people believe it because that's what you're posting. They think you're telling the truth. Do you know what I mean? So you can, when really a lot of it's false and not true. Do you know what I mean? So I don't like Instagram. Yeah. I use it for the boxing, but yeah, like I said, when I'm retired, then I'll probably delete it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's no good.
Yeah. So the characteristics then. So I know just, you know, strength and conditioning, the pad work, the sparring, etc. What would you say is kind of? I know it's all important, but what would you say has improved you most as a fighter? Like what part of the exercise and the training?
Definitely strength and conditioning, because when I was an amateur, I didn't do no strength and conditioning until I was I think 19. To be fair, my pal John does it, and I had 83 fights as an amateur and didn't give no one an 8 count or anything. Like I couldn't punch, basically. Then I started eating correctly. Like I never used to eat fruit or veg, nothing.
Really?
Yeah, so like nutrition and strength.
You was just meat and potato?
Literally, I used to just eat chicken and rice. That was it. And like I didn't have no clue. I hated veg. And I used to just force myself to eat it. In the end, now I love it. Do you know what I mean? But I'd say nutrition and strength is very important for me, because it's definitely changed who I am as a fighter. Because ever since I started doing that, I started like putting people over, giving them a count, stopping them. Even in the pros, getting a knockout. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a big thing. I reckon also the sparring's pretty important. As much as I don't like sparring, but
really,
yeah, I like that. You know what? When I'm in there, I like it. It's the thought of it. You know, like all day, you know that you got sparring. It's like, oh god, I've got to spar. But then when I'm in there, I love it. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the thought. I think the thought of it, mate, I don't really like. But since joining iBox, obviously there's a group of us that are all real good boxers. You know what I mean? So that's improving me as a fighter. So I think that's important. But yeah, like you say, it's everything all adds to one. Do you know what I mean? You need everything. But I think for me, nutrition, strength and sparring.
Again, I'm not pro, but I've been an amateur, and then I've gone into like this unlicensed stroke Queensberry League thing, which some people call it a semi-pro league type thing. And the culture of amateurs to pros, I've been around a lot of pros in my life, like Bradley Skeet, Sam Webbs, and obviously now down the iBox, boxing booth gym with Dan Morley, Jermaine, and all them other guys down there. You can see there's a big kind of shift in culture. Even the way boxers are as a pro, it's a bit more sort of firm on your feet, taking your time a bit, whereas amateurs are very like in and out, like a bit like fencing. But also I remember back in the day when Reg and Richard Foster from Bromley and Downham, they always used to say to me back then, don't do weights because it will make you slow. And that was the kind of mindset of it. Yeah. But then when I got into like more the unlicensed stroke training with pros, it was almost like, no, you got to do strength and conditioning because that's so important. In actual fact, the person who really highlighted it for me is a guy called Ruben Tabarez, strength and conditioner was David Hay, down Haymaker. Yeah. Mixed race guy, you probably would recognise him if you saw him. And he was the one who's saying, no, in actual fact, if you can do strength and conditioning properly, it doesn't make you slow. You can actually speed up. Yeah, of course. And you can start knocking people over.
Explosive power and stuff
Why do you think there's such a gap between the strength and conditioning as amateurs and that mindset belief to a pro?
Do you know what? I think amateurs, I think it's changing a bit now. I think a few more of the amateurs are starting to do strength conditioning, but back in the day, when I was definitely boxing, I don't know, I think it was a bit of an old school mentality, do you know what I mean? Like, oh no, don't do that, let's just do the boxing, do you know what I mean? So, but now you got to change, I suppose they have to change with the times, because what I've learned is the pro game is completely different. It's a completely different sport, you know, and definitely it don't slow you down. Doing weights don't slow you down, because you got like certain... Strength conditioning is not really like you're going to the gym pumping irons, you know what I mean, to try and get big. You're doing it to create power, like explosive power, do you know what I mean? So of course it speeds you up and that. But I just feel like, maybe the amateurs, coaches are stuck in an old school mentality where they just do like a sort of ton up circuit or do you know what I mean, just press ups, squats.
Because Ruben used to say to me, which again I didn't realise until I was exposed to his training and going down to the Haymaker and doing bits down there. He said to me once, he said, because there was a lot of times I was getting fatigued. Yeah. I was like, really knackered, but I can't work it out. I'm training loads and I felt like my diet was on point. Yeah. And he started analysing what I was doing, and he's saying, in actual fact, the circuits, that they do serve a purpose and you need to do them. Yeah, cool. But he said, if you do too many, two things happen. He said, you become fatigued because you're just obliterating your immune system, and you can become sick because of it. And also it makes you weaker. And if you don't do a fair balance between some of that, some very strength and conditioning heavy weights, but the right weights, not hypertrophy where you're trying to build bigger biceps for the sake of it, and then obviously all the mixture. That's how you become a well balanced fighter. And I still feel that even when you speak to certain people, they still don't really get that, or they don't really buy into it as of yet. I don't think they've been exposed to that right information. Yeah, I think they probably need to. I don't know, you got to look at some pros, well, all pros basically, because the proof's in the pudding, do you know what I mean? They're all doing it, and they're all making weight, do you know what I mean? It's not like they're doing weights, then they can't make their weight because they're too big, do you know what I mean? They're all doing strength conditioning, and it's all working, so I suppose the amateurs are starting to like get on board now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is a totally different sport, but when I was on the way to New York for a bit of business the other week, I watched a 2-part documentary on Tiger Woods. Wow. And Tiger Woods, as we all well know, I mean, he set records. I mean, he was an elite athlete, and I think he was the first athlete ever to gross over $1 billion from his sport. And one thing that he changed the culture of is he started doing weights to get more power out of his shots, to therefore drive the ball further and obviously do the hole in less shots. Yeah. And then after he done it, loads of other golfers started following suit, and I feel that's also happened, you know, in the boxing world. Yeah, and I think again, you just coined the phrase "proof is in the pudding." The moment that people start seeing the results, the power, knocking people over, want to join in, don't they? Everyone steps up and starts doing it. Yeah, cool. So that's just the way forward. Like you say, some people don't want to be the first one to try and do it. Do you know what I mean? They've got to see people like do it and get the results, then they sort of jump on board. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be done. Yeah, you got your number 5 fight this weekend with Jordan Reynolds. Jordan's been on my podcast. Really good guy. Turned into a bit of a friend for me. He's actually connected me to a few people, and I'm looking forward to seeing him fight as well as yourself. Going back to what I said earlier about your ambitions, you mentioned something earlier which I thought was actually quite good. You know, as you start to become more world rank and becoming world champion and everything else, a big responsibility is when you start making the money.
Yeah.
And I've had a few different athletes on my podcast, Anton Ferdinand being one, pro footballer, Kieran Richardson, ex-Man United. I've had loads of boxers, O'Hara Davis, etc.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much now, but certainly the older athletes like Anton, who's similar sort of age to me, he said that back in the day there wasn't enough education around when you become a bit famous or well known, and more importantly have the money and get the endorsements. There was not enough training and education about how to steer your finances, and that's how a lot of footballers got conned out of their money. So with yourself, you've already mentioned about investing right, and I think that's such a great thing at 24 years of age, because it's very easy. The moment you earn the first 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, a million, you could just blow it on a car or a nice watch or everything else. So, like, has that been installed into you about, you know, investing right, or is it just a gut thing?
No, it has. Obviously, I've got someone, like, people around me that tell me sort of like, you got to invest your money, don't be stupid. But it's not. That's only friends. You know what I mean? Like, a couple of my older pals have said it. Do you know what I mean? What to invest my money into and stuff like that. Other than them, I wouldn't have no guidance from probably no one else, you know what I mean? So I suppose I see why people do spunk their money, do you know what I mean? Because they, like you say, you get a nice bit of money, they don't really know what to do with it, do you know what I mean? But I've got obviously good people around me that have told me sort of what to put my money into and stuff like that.
You must have seen, as being an athlete as well, that you must have known, not necessarily all boxers, but people who are athletes at your kind of level, and they've gone on to achieve wildly crazy things, and they've earned a lot of money off the back end of it. Yeah. I'm not asking you to name any names, of course, but have you seen people just go wild, like with the money that they've made, or you know, they've gone a bit off the rails?
Only person I really know who's gone pro, like personally, Lewis. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's done pretty well. I think he's done alright, like invested his money and stuff like that. So yeah, I ain't really ever seen no one go off the rails, do you know what I mean? But I ain't really seen that. I spoke to OD, I was sparring quite a bit, to be fair, and he said after, like, I think he's doing well, like, got a few properties and stuff like that, and he sort of told me some stuff like, don't, do you know what I mean? Keep fighting, earning the money. Then he said, like, you got to try and put it into something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think one thing that I wasn't exposed to, but as I started to, you know, listen to personal development, listen to other podcasts, read books, listen to books, get around the right people, is the first challenge is making the money. The second challenge is preserving the money. And the last challenge is getting that wealth preservation to start making you money back. Because even parking money in the bank serves a little bit of purpose, but the problem with it, over time, is going to whittle away.
Yeah, of course.
And if you don't keep up with the rate of inflation and you're not getting a good interest on it, it's almost no point of actually keeping it in the bank, because it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So it's then parking it into assets that actually give you an income, and, you know, a clear good one, which has always served so many people, is property. So is that something you're looking to get into, or would it be more other assets?
100% get into the properties. The property game would be good. Like, there's a few things nowadays, you know what I mean, that you can get your money into. Like, but property is definitely like a solid one. But yeah, no, I've got a thought on a few things that I want to like sort of invest my money into. So hopefully I've just got to earn the money. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've got the thoughts what I want to invest it into, but I just need to earn it first.
So if money was no object, let's just imagine right now you are world champion, and you've done it across a few different weights. You know, you've got 1 million people following you on social media. You get endorsements chucked at you left, right, and centre. You've got X amount of million in the bank. You know, you've also got other opportunities, so you feel quite sort of happy about your future. What would you be buying with that kind of money? Putting investments to a side, I mean, what would your ideal lifestyle be like?
I'd make sure my mum has a nice house. You know what I mean? I'd make sure my mum's got a house outright and that. And obviously, me and my family just live like a nice house. You know what I mean? Have a nice home.
So I've already set out like a couple little plans in the future, and I know plans don't always work out, and they slightly might be the same but slightly modified in a different way depending on the circumstances at the time. But for me, I've always wanted to. I'll tell you something. There's a guy who lives right near me in Keston Park. A guy, I won't say his surname, but his first name's Michael, and he used to be a pro footballer. And then he would play for Charlton, and then this, you know, he's older. He must be early 50s, maybe mid 50s. Yeah. And So he, I think, was playing as a pro, but before the real money got involved. Then he come away from it and he set up a development company and he does really well. Yeah. And he's got this massive house. He's just finished off in Keston, which I think he's living in at the moment. And I don't know how many bedrooms it is, but he's got an indoor pool. He's got an outdoor pool.
Yeah, I'd like that. And a little gym. I'd like a gym.
He's got a gym. He's got a aerobic studio. He's got a cinema. He's got a bar. He's got his own, like, if you imagine your bedroom, but he's got a mezzanine kind of floor where above it is the whole top floor is his own walk-in wardrobe, and there's also a beauty parlour in there. He's also got hidden staircases for I don't want to call them servants, but like, you know, people that you know people that work at your house. Where he was a pro footballer, he's obviously still got connections to the football world, and in his back garden he's got like a 7-a-side football pitch, and they've got the same AstroTurf on there that Bromley Town have got. It's just amazing. Yeah. And the only thing that he hasn't got that I would add to it, if it was me, it would be a full-size boxing ring, full like proper strength and conditioning, like absolutely kitted out.
You said that, I'd like if my dream I would have a gym in it. You know what I mean? Sauna, steam room, swimming pool, weights gym, probably a little boxing ring. Do you know what I mean? Just to have a little go.
Definitely.
But other than that, I'm quite simple. Do you know? Like, as long as my mum and my family's all right, then that's the main thing.
What about travelling? Have you done a lot of travelling? Are you planning to do a lot of travelling in the future?
Maybe after my career, do you know what I mean? Because obviously it's hard just to pack up and go travelling, do you know what I mean? But
well, even your career, though, I mean, your business, what you're into at the moment is a lifestyle business. Yeah. So it's not obviously just keeping fit and competing and making money and building your profile, but surely it's going to take you to places like Vegas. Yeah,
that would be nice if I can get to fight in Vegas and stuff like that. And obviously, as an amateur, I've fought all over the country, so I've seen some nice places. But I ain't really like. Last time I went away I went to Dubai. That's probably a nice place, but I ain't really travelled a lot. No, but I do. I suppose I would want to. Do you know what I mean? I'd like see. Do you know what I'd like? I'd like to see the world where I'm not going there for boxing, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Because when I'm as an amateur, I've gone all these different countries. Obviously, as a pro, I'm yet to fight out of England. But if I could get like dream Las Vegas, things like that, I'd like to go places where I'm not fighting and so I can sort of enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're there focusing on a job. Do you know what I mean? Like I've gone, like I said, everywhere in the amateur scene. I've gone abroad, but you don't really enjoy the country. You're there for 3 days. You know what I mean? You're boxing, you're focused on a job.
You whip in and out of there.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's not like thing. Yeah. So I would like to travel, but after the boxing, I don't know.
So I had a few weeks back now Mick Conlon on my podcast, and one thing that inspired me from listening to him, obviously he's from Ireland. He boxes at Boxing Booth, but his second home is almost the mecca of boxing, which is Madison Square Garden. And he walked out there on his pro debut with Conor McGregor, and it's just like, I mean, he's already achieved and experienced.
What most people dream of. He's done that in his first fight.
Like walked out with, a very high profiled business person, athlete. Conor McGregor's huge, and he's just like, money buys you experiences, and he just bypassed all that and just had the big experience, which is amazing, which I think is incredible. And again, like if you get to fight in these different places around the world, I mean, surely that is such a great experience. Being world travelled, doing what you love, getting supported around the world.
If you can go to America and fight in America, do you know what I mean? That's the dream. Do you know what I mean? That's where all the big boys, like Hatton, Pacquiao, like when you just used to see them at Vegas, and that's like where I want to be.
Yeah.
That's definitely the dream.
So you mentioned Pacquiao, mentioned Hatton, and I spoke about a few other individuals. Who inspires you, Elliot, as a pro boxer?
Do you know what? Yeah, I ain't really a fan. I'm not a fan of boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like I love doing it, but I don't really watch it. Since I've turned pro, I'm trying to get more on, try to get more with it. Do you know what I mean? Because before that, I used to just literally go to the gym, train, box, but I didn't really watch it. Like I don't really watch none of the fights. I don't get up early and watch them. But now I'd say Josh Taylor, because I've done a bit of sparring with him in the amateurs. When I was an amateur and he was obviously a pro. I just like the way that he's not avoided no one. Do you know what I mean? He's had 17 fights. He's already undisputed. Do you know, like, he's come up and just took fights and beat them. Now he's got where he's got. So he's won, and I'd say probably maybe Crawford. I like Crawford, but I reckon Josh Taylor probably, because I've just, like, if you look at, not trying to say that, but like, I've only had 4 fights, but I've already boxed 2 undefeated fighters. Do you know what I mean? There's not many young fighters out there that are like doing that. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, when you look at him, he's sort of gone and cleaned up. Like, maybe not undefeated fights, but from early in his career, he's took like tough fights and overcome them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he's probably my inspiration.
Pro fighting, amateur fighting, or sparring, who has been the best person you have fought against?
Do you know what? That's a good question. Do you know that? I sparred Luke Campbell as Olympic gold medalist, and Josh Taylor probably. They're probably the best I've sparred. Boxed, I boxed Stevie McKenna from Ireland. He was like I think he might have won a European title as an amateur. He was good, and I've boxed Luke McCormack from he was on the GB. They're like probably the 2 best I've boxed. But yeah, I've been in the ring with quite a lot of fighters. You know what I mean? I've experienced them all.
So Luke Campbell obviously just retired, and Taylor obviously he's just on a winning streak at the moment. He seems like he's not slowing down, which is great. Why would you say? I know it's clear to see, you know, obviously their achievements, but actually sparring them or maybe boxing them, why do you feel that they are some of the best that you've fought? What attributes have they brought to your sparring or fighting game?
All right, well, I'd say Josh Taylor probably then more so than Luke Campbell. I think just he's so clever. Do you know what I mean? Like the way he feints and he gets you backing up onto the ropes in the corner. He's very smart. And I just feel like he's got that presence, but he's confident in himself. You know what I mean? He knows that he's number one. So like when you're sparring him, he can just sort of shut you down, and he's just clever. Do you know what I mean? His boxing IQ. I think that's probably what makes him the best person I've been in the ring with.
Have you? So when I last fought, which was 2019, I had the last week of my sparring. I went down to Grove Park, and I went to a gym I've never been to. My friend Jason was running a class down there. He said, come down and spar. And anyway, so I went, all right. And that was against my trainer's wishes, but I thought, fuck it, I'll go down there anyway and do it. I think boxers are a bit like that. They're a victim of their own, you know, of their own characteristics, and don't always listen. And anyway, I was sparring this guy, and I feel like I'm better than him, but he was bigger than me, and he just whacked me. And I tell you what, I think I actually broke my nose because of it, or slightly cracked it, because when I still carried on and had my fight, and it didn't affect me like that, but about a week later I started getting black eyes, which suggests I had actually had a little bit of a fracture. When I was moving my nose, I could hear internally like a bit of a crack. And I remember when he hit me, this guy, and I had my guard up, and it sort of come through my guard, and I thought, oh my God, this guy is an absolute powerhouse. Have you ever got into a ring and you felt someone's jab or right hand, and you thought to yourself, my God, this is like being hit like a freight train?
Nah, do you know what? I feel like I've got quite a good chin. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never been chinned or nothing like that, and I ain't really never been buzzed or anything. But I'd say Sam Notes from my gym, he can hit like a horse. You know what I mean? He's only a lightweight, but he punches like a super middleweight. You know what I mean? I think he's 7-0, 7 knockouts. You know what I mean? He can punch, but I'd say him. He's like probably one of the hardest hitters that was fun.
What do you think makes a good knockout artist? Because you can see big guys in the gym, and you know, big muscles, and they're powerful people, and they can pick you up with one hand. But you put them on a pad or a bag or even sparring, and they don't really seem to hurt you. And then you get a little guy come in there and absolutely bowl you over. What makes someone powerful?
It's probably technique. Some people just got it natural power. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, when I was younger, I had no power, and I had to work hard and build my power up. But obviously, some people have got it naturally. A lot of it comes from technique, though. Like, if you got someone in from a weights gym who's massive on the roids, you probably can't even throw a punch properly. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about how you throw the punch and stuff like that. But a lot of people that can hit hard have just got natural power. Do you know what I mean? But
You can work on it, like
you can, because I'm living proof that you can work. Because like I said, I had 83 fights before I even give anyone an 8 counting as an amateur. I was like a streak of piss, you know what I mean? Like a long, lanky streak of piss. But nah, obviously just grafting hard and doing the weights and that. Yeah, you can definitely work the power up.
When you first gave someone an account, then after all that time, how did that make you feel?
Do you know what? It was in the pre-quarters of the senior ABAs. I boxed someone called Kane Gardner. He was like an England boxer. Just boxing that Ultimate Boxer on Sky. Okay. He's a good fighter, he was, and he was actually beating me in the first round. And second round I put him over and I put him on his back. And I didn't think about this is the first time I've ever given something. You know what I mean? Because I just thought I need to get the job done. But after, I felt like I was so much more confident in my own power. Do you know what I mean? And ever since then, most of my senior fights I was putting over or stopping and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it just gave me a confidence boost. To believe in my own power. Because before, I had a lot of people just used to walk me down. They could
walk through your punches.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And if they were messy and they used to ruin my style and stuff like that, I used to sometimes get beat by people that weren't that good, but weren't better than me, but they could just spoil me, do you know what I mean? Now, when they come and they feel the power, they don't really want to do that, do you know what I mean? So just give me a bit more confidence.
Yeah. So I know you're very ambitious,
yeah.
And I know you've got the world at your feet. 23 years of age, obviously unbeaten so far, and no doubt with the team that you got, etc., you're going to go on to achieve some great stuff.
Yeah.
I know fully well, not so much the boxing, but more being in business, that you need to have good people around you when you're setting big goals for yourself and your company. Because if you don't have good people around you, the bad people, or people not necessarily bad, but just not on the same page as you, can actually hold you back.
Of course.
How important do you feel that is for you and your goals, having the right people around you?
Yeah, you need them, because obviously if you've got like bad people, well, not bad people like you say, but they bring you down, do you know what I mean? And you need people that are going to push you to achieve your goals, and obviously be like even just be smart, like with your money and stuff like that. Some people might think, you're anyway, let's go out, let's do this, let's do that, but you need the right people around you. But I've got a strong, solid team around me. Do you know what I mean? Everyone plays their part and helps me. So.
Do you know, like I think about maybe school friends, even some family members.
Yeah.
And it's a hard one, because family members, you love them, and you can't choose your family. You can choose your friends. And then with your school friends, it's almost like you've been with them for so long, but it's just natural that not all of you are going to stick together.
Yeah,
some are going to evolve in this way, and some are going to evolve that way. And when you say as a young man, 24 years of age, I'm going to become world champion, I'm going to go and achieve this, I'm going to, become the best boxer I can be, you must get some people who not only sort of don't believe you, but say throwaway comments that are kind of like make them feel better. Do you ever have that? Do
you know what? Probably, I've got like a close group of friends that I know don't talk shit and that. Do you know what I mean? Anyone else that talks, like, I'm not too bothered about what they've got to say. Do you know what I mean? But I think a lot of people are, I don't know, some people are just jealous, isn't they? They don't want you to do well in life, or they don't want you to do better than them. But my friends, they all support me, do you know what I mean? They all come to my fights, they want me to win. And if they're going out drinking and I've got a fight, they don't ask me to come out, do you know what I mean? They let me crack on. And they're good, do you know what I mean? My pals are all good people.
Good stuff. So we've got the fight this weekend. It's at York Hall.
Yeah.
And then after this fight, what other plans have you got in store?
Well, hopefully I'll be out again in February, I'd say. I just want to have a clean run, do you know what I mean? I've been pro 2 years. I only had 2 fights per year. I've had 4 fights. So I just need a clean run, do you know what I mean? Where I've been injured and stuff like that. So hopefully this time next year I'll be English champion. Get a little title. I'm not really bothered about the southern area, but getting English, then early on in the year after, I'd be pushing for a British title. So, bit out there, but there must be, your eyes must be on somebody who you feel is in your kind of channel, and might be a little bit further ahead than you, but you think, you know what, I could have him. Who is that person? Who would you say you got in your sights you could beat, and they've got a title or something? Just anyone with a title at my weight. Do you know what I mean? Anyone with a title at my weight, we'll be seeing them. Do you know what I mean? Definitely, like whoever's got the belt, because obviously I'm going to have to take it off them. But until I meet them, until I get the opportunity to fight them, I'll just want to keep fighting and keep winning. Do you know what I mean? And I'm looking to fight anyone Do you know what I mean? I don't shy away from a fight. I'll fight anyone, and if you look at my last 2 fights, they're unbeaten. I want to be still in them sort of fights. Do you know what I mean? So I think my fight on a Friday is quite a tough one, but get the job done there. Then next year, just get a clean run, keep fighting, and hopefully by the end of next year, whoever's got the English title or something like that, that's who we'll go on with.
Yeah, I know it's going to be very hypothetical, this question, but as you grow through your career, you're going to start coming across very, very strong opponents, and some of them are going to have an absolute perfect record, and some of them are going to have knockouts on every single person, and they might be quite dangerous as a fighter. This is how hypothetically you come across someone that 20th fight, and they've had completely all knockouts. How would you mentally go into that fight?
Well, just have to trust the team. Do you know what I mean? Trust my team that I've got around me. They come up with a game plan, get the right sparring in, stuff like that, and just work on things that we do in the game plan. Do you know what I mean? Get a game plan and execute it. And obviously, I know if they're a big puncher, not to get involved. Do you know what I mean? It might even keep them more switched on. Do you know what I mean? But I have to cross that bridge when we get there and see what happens. But I just trust my team, come up with the right plan, and I'll just execute it on the night.
Good stuff. Look, I've been enjoying having a conversation with you, Elliot. Where can people find you if they want to follow you?
On Instagram, just at Elliot Whale. That's my Instagram. I'm not on nothing else, but you can definitely follow me on that. Good
stuff. Okay, I always ask my guests this question. You might have heard it on my podcast. I come up with a mantra when I first got into sales and in business, which is be happy, never content.
Right.
So I've got my own interpretation of what that means. I try and live by it every single day. If I were to ask you, what does be happy, never content mean to Elliot Whale?
So, probably never content is don't just be in the comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? Once you've got something, there's always more things you can improve on and like, do you know what I mean? Don't just be content with your life. You can always like push on and do better things as well. And obviously just be happy, just have a smile and don't be down all the time. Do you know what I mean? If you ever get down in life, do you know what I mean? There's always gonna be a bit shit for a bit, but you always come out of it in the end. Do you know what I mean? And makes you a stronger person.
Good stuff, mate. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this episode, please give Elliot a follow. Make sure you go to his fights. Pay for the tickets.
I just want to say a big thanks to my sponsors as well, City Post. Do you know what I mean? They're a massive help to me. They've been sponsoring me since I started pro. Do you know what I mean? And they've started buying me, so a big thanks to them. Good stuff. And obviously, if you're liking all my podcasts, please subscribe and share it and comment. Everything's welcomed. And be happy, never content. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Species.